Welcome back to Epic Family Podcast. I'm Larissa, and together with Martin
Hi everyone, nice to be here again.
and Lucas,
And that's me.
today we're going talking about one of the most important things you need to know when starting a podcast. How to plan and prepare for it. We'll also be comparing the difference between low budget and high budget options. So grab a pen and a paper and let's start. Let's first talking about planning. Could you help us, Martin?
Yeah, sure. So, planning your podcast is like setting the foundation for a building. It's crucial for its success. With a well planned podcast, you can identify your target audience, develop a content plan, and understand your competition. It's like having a roadmap to your destination. A high budget allows you to invest in a market research and a professional help to plan your podcast, which can save you a lot of time and headaches. But don't worry, if you're on a low budget, with a bit of research and planning, you can still create a great podcast.
So, if an animator of a family group that wants to make a podcast about intra-family communication, the main theme of Epic Project, should plan their podcast thinking on their other family groups animators or on parents as their target audience. And from this, they can develop a content plan for the podcast, right?
Yeah. So, identifying your target audience is important for several reasons. One is content relevance. So, knowing your target audience helps you to create content that is specifically tailored to their interests and needs and preferences. By understanding their demographics, interests, pain points, you can deliver content that resonates with them and provides value. This increases the chances of capturing and maintaining their attention. If your target audience are parents, you must speak to them.
Yeah.
Second, connection and engagement. When you have a clear understanding of your target audience, you can communicate with them more effectively. You can use language, tone, and messaging that resonates with them, making it easier to connect on a deeper level. Engaging with your audience through personalized content helps build loyalty, trust, and sense of community. Thinking about parents as our target audience, using cases that are common in the parenting experience, could be a way of connection and engagement with them. Third is growth and expansion. Identifying your target audience enables you to focus your marketing efforts and resources in the right direction. Instead of casting a wide net and hoping to attract anyone, you can concentrate on reaching the people who are most likely to be interested into your podcast. This targeted approach can lead to better growth as you attract a dedicated audience that is genuinely interested in your content. Fourth is monetization opportunities, which is understanding your target audience can open up monetization opportunities for your podcast. When you know who your listeners are, you can attract sponsors, advertisers, or even create products and services that cater to their specific needs. Advertisers and sponsors are most likely to partner with podcasts that have a well-defined target audience and can offer access to a specific niche market. Fifth, continuous improvement. By analyzing the data and feedback from your target audience, you can gain insights into what is working and what can be improved. Understanding their preferences and behavior allows you to refine your content, your format, and delivery to better meet their expectation. This iterative process of improvement helps you to evolve and stay relevant in a dynamic podcasting landscape.
Oh, interesting. But even if I cannot afford a high budget podcast, could I do a good podcast planning?
It's definitely possible. Doing a low budget research and planning for your podcasts involves a few key steps. Defining your podcast purpose. Start by clarifying the purpose of your podcast. What topic or themes will you cover? Who is your target audience? Understanding your podcast's focus will guide you in your research efforts. Conducting online research Take advantage of free online resources to gather information and insights related to your podcast topic. Use search engines, online forums, social media platforms, and podcasts directories to discover existing content, trends, and discussion within your niche.
Very important.
Yeah. Utilize public libraries. Public libraries are a valuable resource for low budget research. Visit your local library to access books, magazines, academic journals, and also other references that is related to your podcast topic. Libraries often provide free access to online database and research tools as well. You can also do interviews with experts. Just reach out to experts and enthusiasts or individuals that has knowledge about your podcast subject matter. Do interviews with them either in person or remotely through video calls to gather insights, stories, and unique perspectives. Many people are willing to contribute to podcasts, especially if they are passionate about the topic. Also engage with online communities. Join online communities, forums, social media groups relevant to your podcast niche. Engage in conversations, ask questions, and listen to the experiences and opinions of others. This can help you gain deeper understanding of your audience's interests and needs. You have to plan the episode, the topic, the structure. Based on your research, create a list of potential episode topics and outline their structure. Consider the questions, the concerns, and the interest of your target audience from their perspective and craft episodes that address these points.
It could be helpful using commemorative dates or special holidays as inspiration, like Easter, Christmas, International Day of Family, for example. This will ensure your content remains relevant and engaging.
Exactly. You can develop a content calendar, create a content calendar to plan and organize your podcast episodes, outline the topics, episode titles, and schedule release dates. Having a content calendar helps you stay consistent and provides you a roadmap for your podcasting journey.
As we said in the previous episode, but it never hurts to remember, it is important to research what already exists. For example, on podcast aggregator platforms such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts.
Oh, okay. So let's summarize it. I write some questions here. So those who want to produce a podcast need to ask themselves this. Will my podcast be one-on-one or a conversation with other people? Do I want to call experts to interview on my show? What subject do I want to talk about? Where can I do research about it? Do other people already talk about it? If so, can I do better? How long will my program be? And how often will I produce and publish?
Yeah, these are some elements that help give you a focus as to the structure, the theme, and the format of the podcast. We hope to help our listeners know how to answer them in this episode.
And every podcast has a name. How to choose it?
Yeah, it's interesting that you choose a name that has everything to do with the theme you have chosen. The idea is that the name of the podcast helps the audience to identify what you communicate about. It's the title. The title could be an attractive point to them when they are looking for the episodes, and helps them find your podcast on search engines and platforms. Don't worry about the naming. Naming a podcast is not a boogeyman, and it shouldn't be an element that puts too much pressure on you either. After all, if your content is good, nobody will stop listening to it because of the name.
Yeah.
On the other hand, a good name helps in a good promotion, especially at the beginning of a podcast's history. And how to choose a name? Well, once you have an idea, the first thing to do is to research if there is not already another podcast with the same name, or even with a similar name, in order to avoid confusion when someone looks for a podcast.
The next aspect is preparation. So, Lucas, how could a listener prepare the podcast?
So why not to continue with this metaphor of the building's construction? So preparation is like laying the bricks for your building. It's important to prepare your content ahead of time for both low and high budget podcasts. With a higher budget, you may have access to professional writing, editing, and production teams to help you prepare your content. But even if you're on a low budget, you can still produce great content with the right tools and research. For example, it is not difficult to write a script for a podcast episode. This is like preparing the instructions for the construction of a wall in your building. Having a script in hand is essential because the script is what gives life to the podcast, what will guide you when recording, just like we're doing here at Epic Families Podcast.
So, a script is a guide that helps give cohesion to the podcast. That is, that from beginning to end, the program develops with meaning.
And you have to be careful not to get bogged down the script, but to really use it as a tool to help you. It is important to show spontaneity when you're recording a podcast.
You said that it's not difficult to write a script. How can a family group's animator that listen to our podcast could write one?
Nice question. So I can present you some elements that can be in a script, like a start vignette, the introduction of the speakers like you did to us, presentation of the theme of the podcast, an introduction to the episode, some initial announcements, a call to action. There's an invitation to the audience to perform in a specific activity, like recording a podcast. Also a discussion, the discussion about the topic at hand. And it's also interesting to have a quick transition vignette between the blocks at the beginning and at the end of the program. And of course, a closing.